If you're not using these features on your S22 Ultra, then you're missing out big time. Today, we're taking a look at over 30 unknown features on the Galaxy S22 Ultra. You can have your lights, TV, or any other smart device that's connected to the SmartThings application turn off automatically whenever you fall asleep. To enable this, open up the clock application and enable these sleep-wake timers here. This will set an alarm to remind you to go to sleep at a specific time and also wake up at a specific time. If you tap the time, you can change the times, but more importantly, you get this option down here called Sleep Well with Smart Devices. And if you tap this, you can turn on or off any device that's connected to your SmartThings application. And that'll happen automatically when it's time for you to go to sleep. But this gets even more advanced if you have a recent Samsung Galaxy smartwatch. If you scroll all the way to the bottom on this page, you'll see an option called Watch Sleep Detection. And if you tap this, you can have all of these settings change automatically whenever your watch detects that you've fallen asleep. This is particularly useful for people who like to read or watch TV in bed before they go to sleep. And if you scroll to the bottom of this page, you'll find another really important feature called Run Only when you're at home. This is especially useful if you're going to be traveling while your family's at home, because if you didn't turn this on, then whenever you fell asleep, you'd just be shutting the lights off on your family. Jumping back out to the main alarm page in the clock application, if you look under your sleep reminder, you'll see something called Sleep Details. And if you tap this, it'll take you right into the Samsung Health application and show you your recent sleep history. And this will give you a full breakdown of how your sleep was through the night. And one very important thing to point out here is that this detailed sleep analysis is only possible when wearing a Samsung smartwatch to sleep. If you don't sleep with the Samsung smartwatch, you won't get this detailed analysis. If you want your favorite apps to open even faster, just open up the applications, then go to your recent applications, tap the app icon, then tap Keep Open. This is going to prevent the application from ever closing in the background, and even if I tap to close all apps, it still wouldn't close. I can't even swipe this one closed right now. So since this is always going to stay loaded in RAM, it's always going to open much faster. And you can do this with up to 3 applications. And if you try to do it with more than 3 applications, you'll just see this gray box and it won't let you do it. And if you ever want to unlock an application, just tap the lock icon. The S22 Ultra allows you to charge 2 devices simultaneously with a single cable. To do this, just plug the charging cable into your S22 Ultra, then pull your notification shade down twice to reveal all your quick toggles, then swipe across until you find a toggle called Wireless Power Sharing and enable that. Now, just flip your phone over and grab another wireless charging device like this Galaxy Watch and place it on the back. And just like that, you'll be charging 2 devices simultaneously. This is especially useful when you're traveling because you won't have to bring a dedicated watch charger with you. And to be clear, this works with just about any wireless charging device, including wireless charging earbuds and even iPhones. If you double tap the Recents button, you'll quickly switch between your 2 most recently used applications. If you pinch in on one of your home screens, then tap Widgets, you see that the S22 Ultra now supports smart widgets, and these allow you to have multiple widgets in one location. So if I select this 4x1 widget here and add that, it'll drop the widget at the top of the screen, and I can resize this horizontally, but you can't resize it vertically. And if I tap off the widget, I'll then be able to swipe through to see different widgets within this group. And if you long press the widget, you get the option to add more widgets to the group. So let's go ahead and add this one here, tap save, and we'll swipe away from and back to that widget so that it refreshes. And if you long press again, you can also remove the current widget, change the current widget's settings. Now for this one, there aren't too many settings, but if I swipe over to the Samsung Notes widget and jump into these widget settings, you can see that I could change it to black, change the opacity, and I can have it match with dark mode or not. Tap save, and now that widget is updated. If you want even more settings, long press again and tap the settings icon. And here you can enable the option to auto rotate the widgets. And what this will do is analyze how you typically use your phone and these widgets specifically, and try to show you the most appropriate widget at the right time. So for example, if you had an appointment coming up soon and you had one of the calendar widgets set up, it would switch to the calendar widget when you were close to the appointment. This page also lets you change the order of the widgets. So if you tap edit here, you can drag these around so they're in the exact order you want them to be in. If you use your phone at night before bed when the lights are off and the screen is still too bright for you, even when you drop the brightness all the way down, you can make it even dimmer by going to your toggles and swiping over until you find extra dim mode. Enabling this will allow you to make your screen even dimmer. And if for some reason you don't see the toggle here, scroll all the way to the end and you'll see a little plus icon. If you tap that, it'll show you all of the toggles you have available. Then you can just long press the toggle and drag it to where you want it. And if there's toggles you don't want to use, you can go ahead and just drag those up here to keep them out of the way. While we're talking about these toggles, if you want more control over your flashlight, you can tap the flashlight text underneath the toggle, and you'll be able to adjust the brightness between 5 different brightness levels. For reference, here's the lowest brightness, and here's the highest brightness. If privacy is a big concern of yours, and you want to make sure that no applications are using your camera or microphone at all, then you can swipe across to find the quick toggles called Camera Access and Microphone Access. If you disable both of these toggles, then no application is going to have access to either your microphone or your camera. And that includes the built-in camera. So if I go ahead and open up my camera app here, you'll see that it just stays black and asks me to turn on camera access. If I don't turn on camera access, it's just going to stay black. And even if I switch back and forth between the front and rear cameras, it's still not going to show anything because the access hasn't been granted. Speaking of camera and microphone access, whenever something is accessing your camera or microphone, you'll get a little green icon in the upper right corner of your phone. And if you pull your notification shade down, you'll see a green icon here as well. And if you tap that icon, it'll tell you what's being used and by which application. And if you tap that, you can adjust the app permissions for that specific application. By default, if you swipe all the way over to the left on your home screen, you're gonna get to something called Samsung Free, which is sort of like a news aggregator. If you'd prefer to try Google's news aggregator, you can swipe back into your main home screen and pinch in to get to your home screen settings, then swipe back over and you can choose Google Discover instead. Now when you swipe back over, you'll get Google's news instead. If you don't want either of those news generators, just pinch in again to bring the settings back up, swipe over, and tap this little toggle right here, and that will completely disable it, so now if you try to swipe over, nothing's there. If you own a Samsung tablet like this Tab S8 Ultra, you can pull the notification shade down twice on your S22 Ultra and swipe across your toggles until you find something called Calls and Texts on Other Devices. If you enable this on your S22 Ultra, as well as on your tablet, as you can see I have it enabled right here, then you'll be able to send and receive calls and messages directly from your tablet instead of using your phone. So if I jump into my Messages application, I can see all the messages that I've sent and received from the phone right on the tablet. And if I want to send a message, I can just tap in here and send the message. When it comes to making or receiving calls, that can only be done when both devices are on the same Wi-Fi network. But if you tap this Calls and Texts on Other Devices text on your S22 Ultra, then tap Details, at the bottom, you'll see an option called Use Wi-Fi Only. If you disable this, then you'll be able to send and receive texts even when your phone isn't on a Wi-Fi network. So if you left your phone in the car by accident and you brought your tablet into a friend's house and you're on their Wi-Fi, you'd still be able to send and receive messages from the tablet. You just wouldn't get the phone calls. If you want to take this a step further, you can go into Settings on your S22 Ultra, then go to Advanced Features, and enable something called Continue Apps on Other Devices. And you'll have to enable the same toggle on your tablet as well. If you do this, both the Samsung Internet Browser and the Samsung Notes application will be linked between the two devices and will allow you to pick up where the last one left off. To demonstrate how this works, I've opened up the Samsung Internet Browser on my Tab S8 Ultra. Now, if I just tap the Recent Apps button on my S22 Ultra, I'll get this option at the top called Continued from your tablet. And if I tap this, it's going to open up my internet browser and navigate to the same page that I was on the Tab S8 Ultra. And if I were to navigate to a different page on my S22 Ultra, then tap the Recent Apps on my Tab S8 Ultra, I'd get that same icon at the top. And if I tap that, it'll navigate to the new page on the Tab S8 Ultra. And the same is true for the Samsung Notes app. I've opened it up on my Tab S8 Ultra, and if I tap here, I can continue to that exact same page on my Galaxy S22 Ultra. But it doesn't stop there. You can also copy any text or images from one device to the other simply by long pressing and copying the image on one device, then going to your second device and just pasting it when it pops up. So this is an incredible feature when you start doing something on one device and want to finish doing it on another device. The one caveat with this is that both devices need to have Bluetooth on and they need to be on the same Wi-Fi network. Samsung has a proprietary sharing feature that's similar to AirDrop for Apple devices. This here is a 2.2 gigabyte file, and I'm going to send this over to my Tab S8 Ultra. All I have to do is tap Share here, then tap Quick Share at the bottom, and now it's going to find my Tab S8 Ultra, and if I tap that, it's going to immediately start sending that file over to my Tab S8 Ultra. Now again, this is a 2.2 gigabyte file, which would take a really long time to transfer over something like Bluetooth. but since this uses Wi-Fi, you're going to see that it transfers incredibly quickly. So just over 30 seconds, and I've transferred that 2.2 gigabyte file over. For reference, if instead of using Quick Share, you use Nearby Share, which is the default Android sharing option, it would take almost twice as long to transfer the same file. So if you're ever sharing with another Samsung device, definitely use the Quick Share option. Next, we're going to take a look at the most powerful feature on the S22 Ultra. To get to this, go to your apps, then open up the Bixby Routines application. This application is going to let you automate literally anything on your device. So to show you guys just how powerful this is, I have a few quick examples here. The first one is called During Call. And what this does is anytime I'm on a phone call and I'm also connected to my home Wi-Fi network, it's going to automatically mute the TV for me. This makes it a lot easier to just take the phone call without having to worry about the TV being too loud in the background. Battery Saver is automatically going to detect when I'm sleeping and see if I'm also charging my phone at the same time. If both those conditions are met, then it's going to disable both fast wireless charging and fast charging to help extend my overall battery life. Then, once I wake up, it's going to automatically re-enable fast wireless charging and fast charging. Good Morning is going to run automatically when I wake up in the morning, and it's going to turn on my always on display, change my lock screen shortcuts to Gmail and the Messages application, and start playing music from the YouTube Music application. Navigate Home is going to automatically open up the Google Maps application and start navigating home whenever I unlock my phone with my left index finger. But if I unlock the phone with any of my other fingers, it's just going to unlock the phone and do nothing else. And this Navigate to Work routine is automatically going to start navigating home when I tap a button that's either on my home screen or my lock screen. When you first create a routine like this with the Start Manually option, it'll ask you if you want to add a widget to your home screen to enable it. If you accidentally clicked No, then later want to add that widget, all you have to do is go to your home screen and pinch in to bring up your widgets option, then tap Widgets, then tap Bixby Routines, and select either a single or 4 buttons. So if you have more than one routine, you can choose this one and have all of them in one spot. Since I only have one manual routine, I'm going to do the one by one, tap Add, then tap the routine, and it'll be added to my home screen. Now anytime I tap that button, I'll start navigating to work. This is all just barely scratching the surface of what Bixby Routines is capable of. If I wanted to show you guys everything this is capable of, it would be at least a 30-minute video. But before we move on to the next feature, I do want to quickly show you how to set up a routine for yourself. All you have to do is tap Add Routine at the bottom, then you'll get an if and then statement. The if section are all the conditions that need to be met before something happens. And the then section is everything that's going to happen after the conditions are met. So if you tap plus here, you can see that there are a ton of different conditions, and many of these conditions have sub-conditions within them. Again, I'm not going to dive into what all these are because that would take way too long, but I did want to point out Routines Plus here. This one is only available if you download an application called GoodLock, and I'll show you guys how to do that in a little bit. Once you've selected a condition, you can add more conditions, and what that means is that all the conditions will need to be met at the same time before the routine runs. For now, we'll leave it with just one condition. In the then section, there's a ton more things you can do on the phone, and each one of these have their own sub-actions as well. So just with the apps option, if I opened up Amazon Shopping, I could jump straight to deals, my cart, jump straight into a search, or jump to my orders. At the bottom, you'll see the option to control just about any device that's connected to SmartThings, as well as Samsung accessories like the Galaxy Buds Pro, Galaxy Buds 2, and Galaxy Watch. And there's a ton of different settings you can change for each of these accessories. You'll see this Routines Plus option as well. This is also only enabled when you use that GoodLock application that I mentioned a moment ago. But the important one I want to point out here is Touch Macro. This is what allows you to do literally anything on your phone. What the Touch Macro does is allow you to select a specific application, then do a bunch of touch sequences within that application and have those sequences recorded. The best way to explain this is to show you what I mean. So right now, I've just selected the Bible application, and if I tap Record, I can then switch to the Bible itself, tap this reading icon, and then start playing it. Then I'll tap Stop and Save. Then I'll give it a name and tap Save again. Now, whenever this routine runs, it's going to automatically open up the Bible app, switch to the reading mode, and start reading. That's something that's just not possible with the built-in routine options. Once you've selected all of your if and then statements, just tap Next. From here, you can change the name, as well as the icon color. You can also change the icon to one of these built-in ones, or you can create a custom icon using an image from your gallery or your camera. Once you're done picking all of that, tap Done, and your routine will be ready. If you pull your notification shade down with 2 fingers to reveal all of your quick toggles, you'll see a toggle called Link to Windows. And if you enable this, it's going to take you through a setup process to link your phone to any Windows-based computer. Once you do this, it'll let you control the entirety of your S22 Ultra right from your Windows computer. This is especially useful for sending and receiving text messages, since you get a pop-up on your computer that lets you respond to the message right there. Link to Windows also lets you easily copy files to and from your S22 Ultra simply by dragging and dropping. You can also see and interact with your notifications, and you can open any of your applications in a window on your computer. Link to Windows also reconnects automatically after initial setup, so you'll always have quick access to your phone. If you ever forget what your Wi-Fi password is when your friends or family ask it on your Wi-Fi network, or you'd just rather not tell them the password, but you still want them to be able to get on the network, you can share your Wi-Fi password securely by pulling your notification shade down twice to reveal all of your quick toggles, tapping the text under the Wi-Fi toggle, then tapping Details, then tapping the Settings gear, then tapping this QR code option here. Now just have your friend open up the camera app on their phone and aim the camera at your QR code. Then they'll get a little pop-up at the bottom of their phone, and if they tap that, they can join right onto your network. And if your friend has any other Android device, you can share it using the Nearby Share feature, or if they have a Samsung device, you can use the Quick Share feature. And once their phone is detected, just tap their phone, and they'll automatically be connected to the network. If you also own a recent Samsung tablet, and you do a lot of drawing or note-taking in the Samsung Notes application, you'll see a little icon in the upper right corner, and if you tap that, you'll turn your S22 Ultra into a tool palette for the tablet. So if I select a different color and pen type over here, that'll immediately be reflected. And I can go ahead and select something different again, and that immediately gets reflected as well. I can also undo and redo, and I have quick access to the rest of the pen features as well. And if I want to disconnect the S22 Ultra and switch back to having the controls on the tablet, I can just tap this icon in the upper right corner. Now all the controls reappear here. The built-in keyboard has some powerful features to help you considerably increase your typing speed. For example, you could type just the letters BRN and have it autofill with busy right now, call you back in a bit. Or you could write the word email and have that fill in with your full email address. And you can even have a super long thing like this. To set this up, you have to go into the keyboard settings. To get there, just tap this little arrow right here to have those suggestions disappear. Then tap this settings icon. If you don't see the settings icon, tap these three dots, and it'll be on one of these two pages. Once you tap the settings icon, that'll take you into the settings. Then tap text shortcuts, and here's you can create those custom shortcuts. If you long press the period, you get quick access to all of these symbols. Then just release, and it'll put the symbol into your text. If you want to edit these symbols, just drag over to the pencil icon, and you could replace any one of these symbols with anything you want. If you want to move your cursor to a specific point, just long press the spacebar and drag the cursor around to get to the exact spot you need. If you go back into your settings, then go to more typing options, you'll see an option here called multi-language text prediction. This is great for people who type in multiple languages because it'll try to predict the text for all your selected languages at the same time. This makes it much easier to have a conversation with one person in one language and a different person in a different language without having to change your keyboard settings. Just keep in mind that since this is trying to predict text in multiple languages, it may occasionally predict text in the wrong language. If you back out of this page, then scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see an option called Swipe, Touch, and Feedback. If you tap this, you get some great customization options. Two really useful ones are the backspace speed and the touch and hold spacebar options. Backspace speed changes how quickly text is deleted when you hold the backspace button. For reference, here's backspacing at the slow speed, and here it is at the fast speed. The touch and hold spacebar option is great if you prefer not to have cursor control, but instead have voice input. Switching the spacebar to voice input just allows you to hold the spacebar, then speak your text instead of having to type it in. The S22 Ultra is an expensive device, and you definitely won't want to lose it. So to make sure you can always find it, go to Settings, then scroll down to Biometrics and Security, then enable Find My Mobile. This enables a ton of safety features, and to see what this is capable of, tap the Find My Mobile text. Once this is enabled, you'll be able to go to this website address, enter in your login information for your Samsung account, and be able to find out exactly where your S22 Ultra is. So once you set this up, make sure that you bookmark this page on another device. And if I navigate to that website and sign in with my Samsung account, I'll be able to see exactly where my S22 Ultra is. I'll also see what the battery percentage is and have a lot of options down here to do different things remotely with the device. I could make it ring. I can lock it, which is more than just locking the device. If I do this, I can show emergency contact information or a specific message on the lock screen. I can lock my digital wallet, and I can even lock the power off function, which will prevent someone from turning the phone off, because as long as the phone stays on, I'll be able to track it. I can also track the location, which will give me updates every 15 minutes on where the phone is moving. I can also remotely erase all of the data, back up data, retrieve my calls and messages. I can unlock it remotely if it was at a friend's house and you need them to access your phone for some reason. I can turn on power saving mode to extend the battery life, and I can set guardians. And guardians are just people that you give access to your phone. So this lets them locate your device, activate the emergency mode, and make the device ring. But they don't get all the options that you personally get when you log into your own account. And if you tap these three bars in the upper left corner, you can see all of the devices you've enabled to Find My Mobile on. So this is a feature I highly recommend turning on all of your Samsung devices. Speaking of finding your phone, if you know that one of your Samsung devices is nearby and you want to find it quickly, just pull down your notification shade and tap Device Control. If this is your first time in this menu, you'll have to go through a setup process. But once that's done, you should be able to scroll down and see an option called Find. Go ahead and tap that, and it'll bring you to a page that shows you the last known location of all of your devices. This is very similar to the web interface that I showed you guys a moment ago, but this has the added benefit of this option right here called Search Nearby. If you tap this, your S22 Ultra is going to start searching for that device. Once a device is found, this little meter will start to fill up the closer you get to the device. Since the device is sitting right next to me, you'll see that the meter is all the way up. But if the device was further away, you'll see that the signal starts to drop. And if the device you're looking for has ultra-wideband technology, you'll get this option here called Find Using Camera. And if you tap this, your S22 Ultra will use your camera and augmented reality to help you find the device even faster. It does this with arrows to point you in the right direction. Then, once you're facing the device, it'll highlight it. And just like that, I found my Fold 3. And if you're searching for something that doesn't have that ultra-wideband technology, you'll still get the option to make it ring. If you pinch to zoom in the Samsung Internet browser, it'll make all of your text bigger, but then you're going to have to scroll left to right to read all of the text. If instead of pinching to zoom, you tap the three bars in the bottom right corner, then tap zoom, you can increase the text size and not have to scroll left and right to read the text. By default, this will change that zoom setting for every internet browser page. But if you tap the three bars again, then tap zoom again, you'll see that there's an option here called Apply to this tab only. If you enable this, then tap OK, only this tab is going to get that increased zoom. And if you switch back to the other tabs, it'll remain at the standard zoom level. If you tap to show all of your tabs, then long press one of your tabs, you get an option at the bottom called Lock. And if you tap this, it'll prevent that tab from ever closing. So no matter how much I swipe across this, I'll never be able to accidentally close that tab. If I long press a tab again, you'll see these little handlebars, and if I grab one of them, I can rearrange my tabs. If you have a bunch of tabs all related to the same thing, like right here, these are a bunch of outdoor tables that I've been looking at. If I want to group all these together, I just select all of them, then tap Group. Then I can give the group a name, tap Create. Now this will appear as a single tab with the rest of my tabs. And if I tap that tab, I can then see all the individual tabs. If you want to add another tab to that group later, just long press the tab, tap Move, and move it to that group. If you want to switch between your tabs much faster, just swipe across the bottom and it'll take you to your most recent tabs. If you plug your phone into a monitor or TV using either a USB-C to HDMI adapter or a USB-C to USB-C cable if your monitor supports that, then your S22 Ultra will switch to something called DeX mode, which turns your phone into a full-blown desktop computer, complete with a desktop version of the Microsoft Office apps, a desktop-style web browser, floating window support, a file browser with drag and drop support, a desktop, and even support for low latency gaming so you can play mobile games competitively on a big screen. If DeX doesn't start automatically when you plug your phone into a monitor, just pull your notification shade down twice to reveal your quick toggles, and swipe across until you find a toggle called DeX. Then just tap the toggle to enable DeX. And once DeX is enabled, you'll get an icon in the bottom left corner, and if you tap this icon, it's going to give you a touchpad you can use to control DeX. And if you tap in a text field, it's going to bring up a keyboard for you to use. But if you'd prefer, you can connect any external keyboard and mouse, and that's how I personally use DeX when I want to get a lot of work done. If you have a TV or monitor that supports Miracast, which is most modern smart TVs and some monitors, or this Miracast adapter that can be plugged into any screen with an HDMI input, you can use DeX wirelessly by pulling the notification shade down twice, swiping over to the Dex option and tapping it, then tapping the Miracast enabled display. Then just tap Start Now, and Dex will be streamed wirelessly to your monitor. Depending on the TV you have, you may even be able to control Dex with your TV remote. This particular TV is an LG Gallery OLED TV, and I'll have a link in the description if you're interested in learning more about it. The two caveats with this mode are that you'll be limited to 1920 by 1080 resolution instead of the full UWQHD resolution that's possible when using a cable. And you get more latency, which will make competitive gameplay much harder since there will be noticeable lag between your controller input and when you see the response on the screen. If you swipe in on your Edge panel handle to bring up your app's edge, then long press one of your apps and drag them towards the center, you can open them in a pop-up window. This is especially useful for something like a calculator if you want to do some quick math on an app that's open in the background. And if you tap this bar at the top of the application, you get this double box option here, and if you tap this, you can change the transparency of the application as well, which again is especially useful for the calculator app being on top of another application. You can also minimize this pop-up window into a bubble, and tapping the bubble just opens it back up, and if you tap this icon in the top left corner, it pins those shortcuts to the top. If you already have an application open, when you drag a new application down, you can drop it to either the top or bottom to quickly jump into multi-window view. If you try to drag in a third application, it'll either replace one of the two multi-windows or let you drop it in as a pop-up window. And in case you're wondering, dragging apps from within folders also works. If you don't see the app you're looking for here, just tap the three bars on the bottom, then tap All Apps. Then you can scroll through all your applications to find the application you want. Once you find it, just long press it and drag it to where you want it. If you press the home button while in multi-view, it's going to minimize that pair. If I go into my recent applications, I can then go into any other application, but as you can see here, that pair is still an option. And if I tap it, it's going to open up both those apps back in the same multi-window view. Tapping the three dots in the middle will allow you to switch the orientation of them, and you can also drag this bar up and down to resize the applications. And if you long press the blue bar, then drag, you'll actually be able to open this up in pop-up view. Tapping the bar again, then tapping this icon here will put it back into multi-window view. If there's a pair that you use all the time and you want quick access to that pair, you can tap the three dots in the middle, then tap this plus icon. That's going to push the pair into your app's edge. And as you can see right down here, I now have a YouTube and internet browser pair. So the next time I want to open that pair up, I just go to my app's edge and tap the pair. And just like that, both apps are open again. If you want to quickly open up a recent app in a pop-up view, just long press the center of the application and drop it. If you want to quickly open up a recent app in multi-window view, tap the app icon instead, then tap Open in Split Screen View. From there, you can select another recent application, scroll down and see all of your applications, and you can even tap this search icon to quickly find a specific application. Once you select the other application, it'll open up beneath the first one. If you use multi-window often, you'll definitely want to enable this next feature. If you go to Settings, scroll down to Advanced Features, then tap Labs, you can enable these two options here. The first one is called Multi-Window for all applications. This is especially useful for applications like Instagram, which won't open in multi-window without enabling this feature. The next option is called Full Screen in Split Screen View, and what this does is it hides your notification bar as well as these icons at the bottom to give you more screen real estate for your applications. For a quick example, here's what two applications would look like with this feature turned off. Now here's what they would look like with the feature turned on. Just know that when you enable this mode, you'll have to first swipe up from the bottom to reveal all of your shortcuts before you can leave this mode. And the same is true for the notification. You'll just have to swipe down twice to access your notifications. If you want to maximize the potential of your Galaxy S22 Ultra, then this next feature is for you. The first thing you'll need to do is download an application called Good Lock. To install this, go to the Samsung App Store, which is called the Galaxy Store, and search for the app called Good Lock. Once you found it, go ahead and install it. Once it's installed, you'll be met with a bunch of different plugins that enable a ton of different features on your phone. There are so many features unlocked with this application and these plugins that the last time I covered this, I had to split it into two separate videos. If you want to check those out, I'll have a link in the description. So for today, I just want to focus on these two plugins here, the Multistar plugin and the Routines plugin. Multistar allows you to enable some really cool features specific to multi-window. The first option is extremely useful. It's called Quick Launch of the Multi-Window. If you enable this, all you have to do is long press your Recent Apps button, and it'll take you right into the multi-window mode. Multi-window screen zoom will shrink the content within a window to allow more information to be shown within that window. And you can have this enabled for both split screen and pop-up view, or just one or the other. For reference, here's what two applications look like with multi-window screen zoom turned off. And here's what it looks like with multi-window screen zoom turned on. Multifocus allows applications to continue playing a video even if they lose focus. This isn't a big issue for too many applications, but if you're playing a video in an application in split screen view, then you tap the other window and notice that the video stops playing, this feature will make it so that the video continues to play. Remove blur effect on adjusting split view does exactly what you think it does. If I go ahead and drag this bar, you'll see that there's no more blur effect while it's moving up and down. And when I drop it, that's when it'll make the adjustment. Pop-up view action is really useful. This allows you to drag down from the upper corner of any application and quickly open it in pop-up view. And if you drag this bar, you can increase or decrease the size of the touch zones to start this gesture. Prevent pop-up view minimization will just make it so that if you're in pop-up view, then you hit the home button, it won't also minimize your pop-up view. The app size stretch to camera hole option just allows you to hide the camera hole. So if I tap this, then tap an application like Amazon and switch it to hide camera cutout, then I open up the Amazon application, you'll see that I just get a black bar at the top. And if I didn't hide the camera cutout, it would just look like this. So if you're one of those people where the camera cutout really bugs you, you can turn that feature on. And enabling multi-window for all applications has been moved into the standard settings, and that's what I showed you guys a little bit earlier. I love Samsung DeX adds some incredible new features to DeX. Most importantly, it allows you to use high-resolution external displays with just a USB-C to HDMI connection or a USB-C to USB-C connection. Typically, you would need some kind of a powered USB-C hub in order to get the max resolution on an external device. But if you enable this feature, then you'll be able to get that max resolution without needing external power. Run many apps at the same time allows you to run more than 5 applications at the same time on DeX. I personally haven't needed to run more than 5, but if you do, this is a great feature to turn on. This last feature is called Auto Open Last App, and what this does is automatically open up the last app you had open on your phone into DeX when you load DeX. Routines Plus doesn't have any specific options you can change from within the GoodLock application. Instead, it enables the Routines Plus options in the Bixby Routines application that I showed you guys earlier. But for a quick reminder, it's these options for the if conditions and these options for the then conditions. If you're doing a processor-intensive task on your phone like photo or video editing and you want to speed that up, you can go ahead and pull your notification shade down twice to reveal all your quick toggles. Then swipe across until you find something called processing speed and enable this. This is going to boost your processing speed to give you more performance. And if you tap the processing speed text, then tap details, you'll get more information about what's going on. Optimize is the default processing speed for the phone. And if you want to get just a little bit more performance, you can switch it to high, which will get you a bit faster performance, but it's still not going to cause too much heating. Then there's the maximum option, which is going to give you the best performance, but the phone may get a bit hotter. And since you're going to be pushing your processor harder, it's also going to reduce your battery life. So it's important to only use this when you need it. And you'll notice at the bottom, it says that this setting doesn't apply to games, but you can use the game launcher to get more performance for gaming specifically. To enable this, go to Settings, scroll down until you get to Advanced Features and tap that. Then scroll all the way down until you get to Game Launcher and enable this. Once Game Launcher is enabled, you'll just have to open up one of your games to access it. So let's go to the home screen and open up Asphalt 9. Once you're in the game, just swipe up from the bottom to reveal all of your shortcuts and you'll see a new one here at the bottom. If you tap this will open up your Game Booster. This will give you a bunch of different features to enhance your gameplay. The most important feature to look at here is called Priority Mode. And if you tap this little start button here, this will help you stay focused on games by blocking incoming calls and notifications except for alarms. And this will also try to close any background apps to free up some of your network connection speed and processing power so that can be dedicated to the game. If you want to get even more gaming performance, you can tap this little plugin icon right here. The first time you tap it, it's going to ask you to install the plugin. Once it's installed, it'll take you to this page here. And the first option is called Game Booster Plus. If you tap this, it'll show you all the games you have installed on your device and allow you to customize the performance of each one. So if I scroll down a bit and tap these little settings icons right here, and scroll down a bit more, I can switch to a battery saving mode, balanced mode, focus on getting the maximum frames per second, or a high image quality mode. And the last option is a custom mode. And if you select custom mode, then tap the game icon, it'll take you to this page here, which shows you game performance. And if you swipe up from here, you can start customizing it even more. So you can switch to a focus on power saving, balanced, or the focus on performance. You can adjust the graphics quality up or down. You can change the max FPS to min or max. You could even adjust the game's brightness if you turn off adaptive brightness on your phone. And you can also enable or disable a frame booster to try to get even more frames per second. So if you want the best gaming performance, this is the way to do it. If you switch to the S22 Ultra from an iPhone, then you're definitely going to want to enable this next feature. Go to Settings, then Display, then scroll down until you find Navigation Bar and tap that. Then switch to Swipe Gestures. This is going to change your navigation to almost exactly match what you had on the iPhone. That means you swipe up to go home, swipe up and hold to reveal all of your recent applications, and you can even swipe right or left across the bottom to switch back and forth between your most recently used applications. One notable improvement with this gesture-style navigation on the S22 Ultra versus an iPhone is that you can swipe in from either side to go back, and that works in any application, unlike with the iPhone where the specific application needs to support that feature. And since you don't have a home button to long press to access Google Assistant anymore, you'll just have to swipe in from one of the bottom corners. If you jump back into the navigation bar settings, you'll see another option here called More Options, and if you tap this, you get the option to switch from the typical iPhone style navigation to a swipe style navigation that uses 3 distinct zones instead of one big zone at the bottom. So now if I swipe up from the bottom right corner, it's going to go back. If I swipe up from the middle, it'll take me home. And if I swipe up from the left, it'll bring up my recent applications. And in case you're wondering, you can still swipe across the bottom to switch between your most recent applications. The only difference is that now instead of swiping up from a corner to access Google Assistant, you just swipe up from the middle. This next feature is pretty well hidden. You're going to want to go to Settings, then Biometrics and Security, then scroll all the way to the bottom and go to Other Security Settings, then scroll all the way to the bottom again and enable this option here called Pin Windows. What this will do is allow you to lock someone into a single application. And this would be useful if a stranger asks to use your phone to make a phone call. You can make sure that they only have access to your phone app and nothing else. And if you tap the Pin Windows text, you'll see another very important option that you'll want to enable, and it's this option here called Ask for Pattern Before Unpinning. If this wasn't enabled, and they figured out how to get out of your pinned application, they'd be able to just get into any other application without an issue. But by enabling this, even if they figure out how to get out of the pinned application, they'll still need your PIN to access anything else. So to actually pin an application, you first have to open the application, then go to your recent apps, then tap the app icon, then tap Pin this app. Once the app is pinned, the only way to get out of it is going to be to hold both the Recents and Back button for a few seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and tap OK. Now, no matter how much I tap the Home button, Recents button, or Back button, it's not going to let me out. However, you see that this text pops up that tells me how to get out, which is to hold these 2 buttons here. So if I do that, it takes me back out to my lock screen. And that's why it's important to turn on the PIN requirement. By default, double pressing the side key is going to open up your camera application. But if you'd rather have that double press do something different, then just hold the side key and volume down keys for a few seconds. And that's going to bring up this menu here. At the bottom, you'll see side key settings. Go ahead and tap that. Now you can change the double press shortcut from quick launching the camera to opening any other app you have installed. And besides applications, you can even use it as a shortcut to quickly activate the flashlight. And now that this is set for enabling the flashlight, if I double press the side key, it's going to turn the flashlight on. And if I do it again, it'll turn the flashlight off. If you also never use Bixby and don't like the fact that when you hold the side button, it activates Bixby, you can instead change that to just bring up your power off menu. However, I don't recommend that because Bixby is incredibly powerful when used in the correct manner. And if you don't believe me, you can check out my dedicated Bixby video down in the description. The S22 Ultra allows any other flagship Samsung device to connect to any Bluetooth speaker you have connected to the S22 Ultra. This is exceptionally useful for parties because your friends can play their music on your speakers without having to manually pair to your speakers with their phone. To set this up, just connect your S22 Ultra to your Bluetooth speaker. In this case, we'll use some AirPods Pro, but it could be any Bluetooth speaker. Next, pull the notification shade down on the other Samsung device, tap Media Output, then tap Music Share. After a moment, you'll see the AirPods Pro show up at the bottom, and it'll say that it's via Eric's S22 Ultra, so you know that it's from this phone. Now just tap the AirPods Pro, and you'll get connected. Now the first time you do this, you should be asked on your S22 Ultra if you want to allow the connection, but since I've already done this before, it just automatically connects. And now that the AirPods Pro are connected to the Fold 3, I could play any music I want from this device and it'll play on these speakers. And if I adjust the volume on the Fold 3, it'll also be reflected on the S22 Ultra because the AirPods Pro are connected to the Fold 3 through the S22 Ultra. And the best part about this feature is that when your friend disconnects from your speaker, you'll automatically be reconnected on your phone. If you tap the clock icon while you're on your lock screen, you'll get access to a bunch of widgets. And this will also give you extra music controls depending on which music app you're using. Right now I'm using YouTube Music, and I get the option to either like or dislike a song, and even scrub through the timeline. Further down, you'll see your calendar events for the day, you'll see any Bixby routines that you set up, and you'll see your screen time for the day as well. If you tap Settings at the bottom, then unlock your phone, you get the option to enable more widgets like your next alarm and the weather widget, and if you tap Reorder up here, you can rearrange these however you'd like. At the bottom, you'll see a toggle here called Show Always On Display, and this allows you to access these widgets on your Always On display as well. However, to access them is a bit different. From your Always On display, you'll have to double tap the clock, then swipe up or down to bring the widgets up. Then you can scroll through them just like on your lock screen. You may have noticed these two icons as well. If you tap the little A icon, it allows you to adjust the brightness of the Always On display, and if you tap the settings gear, you'll have to unlock your phone, and it'll quickly take you to your Always On display settings. You may have noticed that my lock screen keeps changing every time I lock and unlock my phone. And the reason is because I set up something called a dynamic lock screen. To do that, just swipe to the right of your lock screen and it'll bring you to the dynamic wallpaper page. Since I've already set this up, it's going to look a bit different for me than it will for you. So let me disable it and then I'll walk you guys through the process. Now that it's disabled, I'm going to go ahead and swipe over again, and you're going to be met with this page here. And you can choose from a bunch of different types of backgrounds. So depending on what your interests are, you can select one of them, and it'll download a series of images. And these images will be updated every 2 weeks. Now every time I lock and unlock my phone, I'll get a new landscape image. And you can select up to 5 of these categories. Once you've enabled this dynamic lock screen, if you see a wallpaper that you really like, and you'd like to use it for your home screen wallpaper, all you have to do is long press the screen, and it'll show you just the wallpaper. Now quickly press the side key and volume down buttons together to take a quick screenshot. From there, you can go to your gallery and set that as your home screen background. And truth be told, this is actually where I get most of my home screen backgrounds that you see in my videos. The S22 Ultra is a big phone, and unless you have big hands, it can sometimes be hard to use with just one hand. That's why I recommend going to Settings, scrolling down until you find Advanced Features, then enabling one-handed mode at the bottom. This allows you to swipe down on the home button to make the screen smaller. You can also move it to the other side and make it either larger or smaller to fit your needs. And if you grab this little bar at the top, you can drag the window up or down to accommodate however you hold the phone. To get out of this mode, just tap anywhere outside of the window. And another great feature with this is that it'll always remember the last position it was in, so you don't have to readjust it every time you enable it. If you tap the one-handed mode text, you can switch from gesture mode to button mode, which allows you to get into one-handed mode by simply double tapping the home button. If you want to find out why you're probably using the S Pen wrong on your S22 Ultra, go ahead and check out this video over here. If you want to find out why you're probably only using about 10% of what your camera is capable of, check out that video over there. If you guys found this video helpful and want to help me out, go ahead and drop a like down below. And if you want more deep dive videos just like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right there. That's it for this tech episode. God bless guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.